All right, Six Nations time. Are you as excited as I am?
Absolutely, especially with the Lions tour on the horizon. Makes everything a bit spicier, you know?
Right. It's like every match is a mini audition for those spots on the plane to Australia.
Mm.
Speaking of auditions, you sent over this article about Scotland's chances, and, well, it got me thinking.
Yeah, lots of chatter about them being the dark horse of the tournament.
But reading this, I'm not so sure. Maybe dark horse isn't quite the right term. I mean, could this actually be their year?
Well, the article does lay out a pretty compelling case for why Scotland might just be a genuine contender.
Okay, lay it on me. What's got you so convinced?
A few things, really. They've got a pretty favorable fixture list to start things off, wouldn't you say?
I'd definitely say so.
Yeah.
Opening against Italy at home, that's got to be a good feeling for them. A chance to build some early momentum.
Exactly. You want to hit the ground running in a tournament like this, and a home game against Italy is about as good a start as you could ask for.
Then they've got Ireland, also at home, in week 2. I mean, if they can snag those 2 wins, that's huge.
Right. They could be sitting pretty heading into the rest of the tournament. And, you got to consider the historical context here.
Oh yeah, Scotland and the Six Nations. Not exactly a tale of dominance, is it?
Not exactly. They've never won the Six Nations Championship. Ever.
Seriously,
Never.
never. It's a pretty long drought.
Wow. Okay, so maybe this is the year they break the curse. I mean, it's not just the championship they're in the running for, right? They could potentially win the 6 trophies this year. We're talking the Calcutta Cup against England, the Cutta Cup against Italy, the Dottie Weir Cup against Wales.
Don't forget the Auld Alliance Trophy against France and the Centenary Quaich against Ireland.
Right. A potential clean sweep. Imagine that. All 6 trophies heading back to Edinburgh.
I think the celebrations might get a little bit out of hand.
I can only imagine. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The article also acknowledges that Scotland has, well, a history of not quite living up to expectations. True. And we got that great comment from Red Warrior, I think it was, pointing out that Scotland traditionally struggles in even-numbered years.
Because they have to play England and France away.
Exactly. Tough road trips. Plus, let's be real, their record against Ireland hasn't exactly been inspiring, has it?
Yeah, not exactly track record of success there. But hang on, Ireland's coming into this tournament without their captain, Johnny Sexton.
That's right. Big injury blow for them.
So let me get this straight. We've got Scotland, a team that's never won the Six Nations. With a favorable early schedule, AD, they're facing an Ireland side without their talismanic leader.
You got it. Now, whether Scotland can actually capitalize on all that remains to be seen.
It's still rugby, right? Anything can happen.
Exactly. They still have to go out there and perform. But the potential is there, no doubt about it.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this article has you so intrigued. Right? But even without Sexton, Ireland are still the reigning champs. Back-to-back titles.
Yeah, they're the team to beat. On paper, at least.
But I hear a but coming.
Well, their autumn campaign wasn't exactly flawless. That loss to New Zealand was pretty comprehensive. And they only narrowly beat Argentina and Australia.
So they're not invincible. Interesting. And with Sexton out, who steps into that fly half role? Big shoes to fill.
Huge shoes. The likely candidate is Sam Prendergast. Lots of talent, but not a ton of experience at this level.
Okay, so that's definitely someone I'll be watching closely. How he handles that pressure could be a major factor for Ireland. But let's not forget about France. They're always a threat, aren't they?
Always a threat, always a bit of a mystery.
It's true. You never quite know what you're going to get with them.
French club rugby is in incredible form at the moment. I mean, look at the Champions Cup. They're dominating.
Yeah, you've got Toulouse, La Rochelle, Toulon, all stacked with world-class players. So why hasn't that translated to more success in the Six Nations?
One championship in the last 14 years. That's the French paradox, right?
Yeah.
The talent is there, but
Yeah.
can they put it all together when it matters most? Consistency and discipline, those have been their Achilles heels.
But there's a new factor in the mix this year that could change things.
Sean Edwards?
The Sean Edwards.
The one and only.
Wait, the mastermind behind Wales's defensive wall? He's with France now.
Yep. He's their defense coach.
Wow. That's got to have people in France feeling pretty optimistic.
I'd say so. Edwards is known for turning defenses into absolute brick walls. If he can work his magic with France, they'll be incredibly tough to break down.
But sometimes France can be their own worst enemy.
They've got a knack for those self-inflicted wounds.
So are we thinking Grand Slam contenders or another year of what could have been for France?
Only time will tell, but I'm definitely intrigued to see what Edwards can do with this team.
I am too. This is already shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable Six Nations I can remember. I
Agreed.
mean, you've got Ireland, the two-time defending champs, missing their key player. You've got Scotland, who've never won the championship, with what looks like a golden opportunity, a favorable schedule. And you've got France, bursting with talent, now with a defensive guru at the helm.
Don't forget about Wales and England.
Oh yeah, we can't leave them out of the conversation.
And then there's Italy, the perennial underdogs.
They're always up for a good fight, but even their biggest fans probably aren't expecting them to win the whole thing.
Probably not. But hey, stranger things have happened in sport, right?
It's
Okay, before we dive into Wales and England, let's take a quick detour to talk about the Lions Tour.
that looming shadow over everything.
Every player in this tournament knows they're not just playing for their country, they're also vying for a spot on that plane to Australia.
Every tackle, every pass, every run, it's all being watched and analyzed.
It's almost like a giant job interview. And the article pointed out that right now it seems like only Andrew Porter is a guaranteed starter for the Lions.
Which means every other position is up for grabs.
Talk about pressure.
You're telling me this Six Nations is their stage to shine?
Makes it even more exciting to watch, doesn't it?
Definitely. And speaking of exciting, let's shift our focus to Wales. Warren Gatland, the prodigal son, is back. Oh yeah, back for round 2. I wonder if it'll be like those greatest hits tours bands do.
Well, the article actually compared Wales' situation to the film All About Eve.
I haven't seen it, but isn't that the one about an aging actress who's threatened by a younger, more ambitious understudy?
Exactly.
So are they saying Gatland is the aging actress in this scenario?
Not exactly. It's more about the team he's inherited. They're coming off a rough year, finished last in the Six Nations, got the wooden spoon.
Ouch, that's gotta sting.
And now there's a new generation of players eager to prove themselves. So Gatland's got to manage all of that.
Manage egos, navigate a generational shift, and try to rebuild a team that's lost its winning edge.
All while being under the microscope.
It's like he's stepped into a pressure cooker. Good luck, Gats. All right, enough about Wales for now.
Okay.
Let's talk England. Steve Borthwick, new coach, new era. Big shoes to fill, wouldn't you say?
Enormous shoes. And I think it's fair to say he's facing a bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah, England is in a bit of a state of flux, aren't they?
They are. They're coming off some disappointing results, and there's a lot of pressure on Borthwick to turn things around quickly.
And it doesn't help that they've got Ireland and France away in the first 3 rounds.
Brutal start. That's a real trial by fire right there.
Plus, there's all that drama going on within the RFU, the governing body.
Yeah, that can't be helpful. It's a distraction the team doesn't need.
New coach, tough schedule, internal strife. It's almost like they're trying to climb Mount Everest wearing flip-flops.
It's definitely going to be a challenge.
Okay, we've covered the major players. Just for fun, let's talk about Italy. 3 home games this year, maybe that gives them a shot at a win or 2.
Oh, I'd love to see them pull off an upset. But even with the home advantage, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm not getting my hopes up. But hey, wouldn't it be great if they did surprise everyone?
Absolutely. It's always fun when the underdogs have their day.
All right, so before we get too deep into predictions and hypotheticals, let's take a step back and recap what we've learned so far.
Sounds good.
So we've got Scotland, a team with a historical opportunity and a favorable schedule. We've got Ireland, the champs, but without their star player and maybe not quite as invincible as they've seemed in the past. We've got France, overflowing with talent, but with a history of self-destruction.
Can't forget about Wales, with Gatland back in charge, trying to navigate a tricky transition period.
And England, under new leadership, facing a tough schedule and some off-field distractions.
And, of course, Italy, the perennial underdogs, always ready to put up a fight.
This is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing Six Nations in years. I'm already hooked.
Me too. And this is just the beginning.
Right. We'll be back to break down specific player matchups, key tactical battles, and analyze each result as the tournament unfolds.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Buckle up, everyone. It's Six Nations time.
It really is fascinating, how every Six Nations has these storylines that kind of grab you even before the first match kicks off.
It's true. We were just talking about all these individual battles going on within the teams. Got to be an extra layer of pressure for these players, right? Knowing they're not just fighting for their nation, but also for a chance at that Lions tour.
Absolutely. Every match is like a trial run for the Lions.
Yeah, it's like they're playing 2 tournaments at once. So let's dive into some of those individual battles, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's start with the second row. That's a position where both the Lions and, well, pretty much all the Six Nations teams have some serious depth.
Oh, yeah. You've got those big names like James Ryan for Ireland, Maro Itoje for England. They're pretty much locks for the Lions, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But even those guys can't afford to slip up.
Because there's a whole crop of young players coming up ready to take their spots.
Exactly. Guys like Ryan Baird for Ireland, Scott Cummings for Scotland, they're hungry.
So even the veterans have to be on their game, knowing that one bad performance could cost them a place on that plane to Australia.
That's the kind of competition that breeds excellence, though, isn't it?
I guess so. But I wonder, does that pressure ever become a negative thing? Like, do players start playing it safe, just trying not to make mistakes?
It's a good question. You want players to be aware of the stakes but not be paralyzed by them.
Right, finding that balance.
Exactly.
Okay, so the second row is one battleground to watch.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the back row as well.
Oh, yeah. The back row is always a hotbed of competition. And this year is no exception. You've got the Welsh legend, Talupe Filletta, back in the mix after those injury struggles.
He's a class act, that's for sure.
Absolutely, but he's got his work cut out for him because, like you said, the back row is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, you've got those young guns, Caelan Doors for Ireland, Tom Willis for England. They're really starting to make their mark on the international scene.
It's almost like a changing of the guard happening right before our eyes.
The old guard trying to hold on, the new guard trying to break through.
Makes for a fascinating dynamic.
And let's not forget about the fly half position. We talked earlier about Sam Prendergast, the young Irishman, stepping in for Sexton.
Yeah.
Huge pressure on him, right?
Immense pressure. The fly half, they're like the conductor of the orchestra.
They set the tempo, make the big decisions.
Exactly. And everyone's watching to see how Prendergast handles it. Especially Andy Farrell.
The Lions coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be scrutinizing every move Prendergast makes.
This is his chance to prove he's got what it takes to lead at the highest level.
Okay, so we've got those battles in the second row, the back row, the fly half position. Any other positions where we might see some fireworks in terms of Lions selection?
Keep an eye on the fullback position. You've got Stuart Hogg, the Scottish captain, a real veteran. But he's not getting any younger, you know.
And there are some hungry young players snapping at his heels.
Hugo Keenan for Ireland, Freddie Stewart for England. They've both been impressive.
Yeah, they bring different strengths to the table. Keenan's more of an attacking threat. Stewart's a bit more solid defensively.
It'll be interesting to see who Farrell favors for the Lions.
Definitely. All right, let's circle back to Wales for a moment. We were talking about Gatland's return, and you made that all about Eve comparison.
Yeah, that generational clash.
So what are some of the specific challenges Gatland might face in managing this team?
I think one of the biggest challenges is managing the expectations.
Because of his past success.
Exactly. He's a legend in Wales. But things have changed since his first stint as coach.
The landscape is different.
The other teams have caught up, and Wales has struggled to keep pace.
So Gatland's coming back to a situation where the fans are desperate for a return to glory, but the team might not be quite there yet.
It's a tough spot to be in.
And he's got to find a way to manage those expectations, which probably means making some tough decisions.
Dropping experienced players, giving younger guys a shot, maybe even changing the style of play.
All while being under intense scrutiny.
It's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like he needs more than just rugby skills to navigate this. He needs a PhD in diplomacy and a thick skin.
It's going to be fascinating to watch how he handles it all.
Okay, let's shift gears to England. You said they're in a state of flux right now. What are some of the factors contributing to that?
Well, you've got a new coach, Steve Borthwick. He's a good coach, but he's still trying to establish himself at this level.
He's got his own ideas about how he wants England to play.
Right, and it takes time to implement those ideas. But the problem is, there's no time.
Because England is expected to win, and win now.
Exactly. Anything less than a top 2 finish is seen as a failure.
So is that pressure to win immediately actually hurting England's long-term development?
It's a possibility. If Borthwick feels like he has to win at all costs, he might not be as willing to experiment to give younger players a chance.
He might stick with the veterans even if they're past their prime.
Right, and then you've got that whole RFU situation, adding another layer of complexity.
The turmoil within the governing body.
It's a distraction. It creates uncertainty, instability.
So England is fighting battles on multiple fronts. On the field, trying to rebuild. Off the field, dealing with all this drama.
Tough environment to thrive in.
Okay, so we've talked about Wales. We've talked about England. Now, just for fun, let's revisit Italy. I know, they're the perennial underdogs. But maybe, just maybe, those 3 home games give him a chance to pull off an upset or two.
You never know. They've shown flashes of brilliance in the past. They've got some talented players.
But realistically, I'm not expecting them to set the world on fire.
Probably not. But hey, that's the beauty of the Six Nations, right? Anything can happen.
True enough. All right, before we get lost in hypotheticals, let's recap what we've discussed.
Good idea.
So we've got Wales trying to find their way under Gatland's return. We've got England, a team in transition, facing a tough schedule and some off-field turmoil.
We've got those intense battles for Lions selection happening in key positions.
And we've got the perennial question, can Italy finally break through and cause an upset?
So many storylines to follow.
I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the most compelling Six Nations in years.
And we're just getting started.
Right. This is just part 2 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll break down those key matchups.
And analyze the tactical battles
Yeah.
that will decide who lifts the trophy. Okay, so we've really gone deep on this Six Nations, haven't we? Teams, coaches, the Lions tour, you name it. But there's this one question I keep coming back to.
Oh, what's that?
Well, the article we've been discussing, it really emphasizes how this year's tournament is wide open. Anyone who wins the Grand Slam, they're going to have earned it. No easy path.
Yeah, it's going to be a real battle.
But let's put you on the spot for a second. If you had to pick right now, who do you think has the best shot at lifting the trophy?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Honestly, it really could be anyone's year. But if I had to put my money on someone, I'd probably lean towards Ireland.
Even without Sexton.
Even without Sexton. They've got this system, you know? It works. They've got depth in most positions, and even when they're not playing their best rugby, they find a way to win.
Yeah, true. I guess that's why they're the champs. But I'm still not ruling out Scotland. That home schedule to start things off, that could give them a real edge.
Absolutely. And if Finn Russell's on form, Scotland can beat anyone. He's just got that magic, you know? He can unlock any defense.
And then there's France. Always the wild card.
The X factor.
If Sean Edwards can work his magic and instill some discipline in that team, watch out.
They could be unstoppable. But, you know, they could just as easily implode.
That's the French way, right? Brilliant 1 minute, frustrating the next.
Exactly.
So it's Ireland, the steady hand, Scotland, the team of destiny, and France, the unpredictable force. What a mix.
Don't forget about Wales and England, though. They might not be the favorites, but you can never count them out.
Right. Wales, they've got Gatland back. He knows how to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
In England, well, they always seem to rise to the occasion when the pressure's on.
Exactly. So we can make our predictions, but the Six Nations always has a way of throwing us a curveball. That's what makes it so great.
The underdogs rising up, the favorites stumbling. You never really know what's going to happen.
And that's why we love it, right? The drama, the passion, the unpredictability, it's all part of the Six Nations magic.
It really is. Okay, one last thing before we wrap up. Let's circle back to the Lions tour. This Six Nations is a proving ground for those hoping to make the squad. So if you were Andy Farrell, the Lions coach, who would be at the top of your watch list?
Oh, that's a good question. So many talented players to choose from, but I'd say keep an eye on Finn Russell for Scotland. He's the key to their success. And Duhan van der Merwe, that winger, he's a force of nature.
Makes sense. What about Ireland?
Well, with Sexton out, everyone's going to be watching Sam Prendergast, the young fly half. Can he handle the pressure? Can he lead the attack? And Caelan Doris, the back row forward, he's been outstanding for Ireland these past few years. A real leader.
Okay.
Antoine Dupont, the scrum half, he's the engine of that French team. So much talent. And Gregory Aldred, the number 8, he's just a beast in the pack.
Wales.
Louis Rees-Zammit, he's electric. That pace, that try-scoring ability, he's a real game changer.
And England.
Maro Itoje in the second row, always a threat, a true competitor. And keep an eye on Marcus Smith, the fly half. If he can find some consistency, he could be world-class.
So many players to watch. So much rugby to be played.
It's going to be an amazing tournament. I can't wait.
Me neither. Well, folks, there you have it, our deep dive into this year's Six Nations.
We've covered a lot, haven't we?
We have. From the teams and players to the big storylines and the Lions tour implications. But now it's time to let the rugby do the talking.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
This is going to be a Six Nations for the ages. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back with more insights and analysis throughout the tournament. But until then, may the best team win, and may the rugby be brilliant.